the old days, if one wanted to improve one's dueling skill, a lighter and more flexible weapon than the épée was often used for practice. Today, that practice weapon has evolved into one of the three competitive events, the foil. The guard is smaller because the arm is not a valid target and does not need to be protected. The straight French grip is traditional, but most fencers today prefer the added control of the pistol grip. Either grip can be used with both the épée or foil. There are three major differences between épée and foil. First, the foil is the only event in which women compete on an international level, including the Olympics. In Canada, there are 3 or 4 women who generally dominate most of the events. One of them, 20-year-old Jacinthe Poirier, is from the small town of Chibougamau in northern Quebec. She came second in this year's championship, losing to another 20-year-old, Madeleine Fillon from Laval, Quebec. For Fillon, it was her first Canadian senior title.
She fence at my club, so we know both, we know horse, so we can go. Yeah, it's wonderful.
In Canada, fencing is a closely knit community. Yourself, a former Canadian champion, shows that sportsmanship is still very much alive.
Firstly, we train on the same club, and I find it's very complicated because we know together and we made a nice bout. And I'm happy she fenced better than me and we made a nice bout.
Before each bout, the spring-loaded tip is tested for the proper amount of resistance. The target area is the second major difference between foil and épée. Because it is a lighter weapon, the logic was that for the foil to do any damage, it would have to hit a vital area. Therefore, in modern competition, the target is restricted to only the trunk, front and back. The fencer wears an electronically conductive vest representing the target area. The electronic scoring system is modified so that a valid hit on the vest triggers the colored light, while a non-valid hit on any other part of the body triggers the white light. The third major difference between foil and épée is a basic principle that makes foil more exciting but also more complex. It's called right of way and works as follows. The fencer who starts an attack is automatically given right of way, meaning the defender must first deflect the attacker's blade before he or she is allowed to launch a counterattack. Put another way, the defender cannot score a hit directly on his attacker until he has first deflected the attacker's blade. Though at first not really obvious, the reasoning behind such a rule is simple. In fencing, the attacker usually carries the disadvantage of being off balance, while the defender has the advantage of being perfectly balanced. It is therefore easier for him to score. The principle of right of way helps overcome this disadvantage and encourages more attacks. The right to attack and therefore score will pass from one fencer to the other, much like a tennis ball in a rally, until one of the players scores. Remember, in épée there is no right of way, which is why it is a patient waiting game, with either fencer hesitant to put himself at a disadvantage by attacking. Right of way also increases the complexity of the bout, the attack, the parry, the counterattack or riposte, another parry, followed by a counter riposte. Feints and bluffs add further levels of complexity. It becomes a chess game of mind and body. The technique and strategy that take years to perfect are condensed into milliseconds of movement, far too quick for the regular eye-to-hand reaction process. Instead, the fencer's only companion is often just pure instinct. The unenviable task of deciding which fencer had right of way, whether a parry was made before a riposte, and generally presiding over the match belongs to the director. He must rely on years of experience to decipher the sophisticated and lightning-fast language of the blades. At 20, both Poirier and Fillon, still young by fencing standards, have yet to reach their prime.